Hello chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're continuing with another variation in how to play the French. This time we're going to be going over how to play the burn variation from the black side. Alright, here we go. E4, E6, exclam over here, it's the French defense. D4, take the center, pawn to D5 right here, classical French setup. Knight C3, this is the Paulson variation. Knight F6, one of my favorite ways to play against this move. Bishop G5, and here we get the burn variation. Now this is a very interesting way for white to play. It's very aggressive. White typically does try to make the trade here and open up. So they're going to try and make a pawn trade. Why do they do this? Well, because they're trying to attack, you need open files and diagonals. So that's the main idea of this. And I will say typically white does castle queenside in a lot of these games, and when black does castle kingside classically, well, then it becomes a double-edged game because, well, you're going to be playing for opposite side castling, which means you need to attack your opponent as fast as possible. Alright, here we go. Pawn takes on e4. This is the main move that does get played here. Knight takes on e4. Bishop to e7. Here we just want to go ahead and defend. Bishop takes, and knight to f3. Here you can see white does get a very nice setup here with this good knight on e4. Although we do have the bishop pair here for black, this bishop's not doing too much here attacking on the d4 pawn. And white will have really good play on the light squares. Especially I will say that, well, this is not going to be the best for you for black because typically when you have the knight on f6, it guards your weak h7 square, which is very important because this is going to be the weak square whenever you castle. Alright, knight to d7 got played. Queen over to e2. You can already sense that white does have some very aggressive ideas left in this game. Castles and castles, alright, here we go. Just like I said, we're getting into what's called opposite side castling. And these games are very aggressive because, well, because of the imbalance of where the kings are. The best plan to do in these games is start pushing your pawns forward, at least where your opponent's king is. So black's going to try to push these pawns forward, and white is going to go ahead and push these pawns over here on the king side. What's the idea? Well, we want to trade off these two pawns for these two pawns, slide the rook over, and you can see the king will be bare over here, and well, we're going to get a strong attack. Same idea goes. Here black pushes these pawns forward over here to trade for these two pawns, the rook slide over, and again we see black gets a strong attack. Now, this game was played by Judy Pogar, who is known to be a very aggressive chess player, which makes sense why she's playing the burn variation here with white against the French defense. And, well, here we go. Black went ahead and played pawn to b6, a very interesting move, which doesn't seem like it really helps open up on the queen side. But here he does have a specific idea. Pawn to h4 gets played. Another very natural move here. Here white's going to try to go to g5 in the future and attack on h7. Now typically the bishop goes to d3 here. That's why I don't like the queen going to this e2 square because it really blocks this bishop. Bishop b7. I mean, hey, if you can make some trades off here, this will be pretty good for you. Remember, your opponent's attacking you. If you trade off some pieces, this will alleviate or stop a lot of the attacking potential. Pawn to h5, she's just pushing that pawn down the board. c5 here, going to open up the center here. And here, this seems really crazy to me because, well, why would you open up whenever the rook is parallel or on the opposite side of the queen? But here, black does have the reasons. Remember, it's not so simple just to take here. After something like pawn takes, here we actually have bishop takes on e4, queen takes on e4, and then knight takes on c5 here for a perfect tempo. Of course, you can go in and trade here, but here black is very happy to go into endgames, and this is actually what does happen in the game. After c5 got played, white first played h6, g6, and then d takes on c5 was played, and just like we saw, bishop takes on e4, queen takes on e4, knight takes on c5 here. And again, black is happy to go to the endgame. In fact, at this point, white is now in a worse position. Black is at negative 0.5 here, with all other variations showing black has a negative 0.2 advantage. Well, remember, whoever played this for white, especially this burn variation, typically does like to attack, so they don't want to trade queens here, which makes sense. And, well, Judith goes ahead and plays queen to b4. Definitely not the best move here, as this is going to give a lot of free tempos for pushing the pawns forward here on the queen side. Alright, queen c7 got played first. We don't want to lose our queen. Bishop over to e2. And here pawn to b5, saying, please, oh please, take my pawn. Now, taking this pawn on b5 would not be a good idea. Any way that you take it, you're going to let open files happen. So maybe something like rook a b8, rook f to b8. Either way here the b2 pawn is going to fall right away. So this is what they call the poison pawn. Don't take this one. So instead of taking the pawn here, white played very cautious and played king over to b1. But again, like I said, the queen was just placed on a very bad square. Let's get some free tempos over here. Pawn to a5 gets played, queen over to g4, knight to a4, and again we see that this b2 square has become critically weak. The dark squares are weak, and what do you know, we just happen to have our bishop over here. And you have to be very, very careful in these kind of situations. After something like pawn to b3, well, of course you can play something like knight to c3 check, or maybe even stronger is queen over to c3 here. And you can see with this open diagonal, it's pretty much game over here. The dark squares are just too weak. So after this move of knight to a4, white went ahead and played knight to d4, blocking off the bishop. Unfortunately, this does not work out too well for Judith. Rook over to c8. Now there's a new threat. We brought in another rook, and now we're threatening bishop takes on d4 with queen takes on c2 check here. Okay, white went ahead and played rook to d2 to defend. And here, well, it's combination time. Black to move. What do you play here? All right, hopefully you push pause. Hopefully you tried to figure it out. What was the move? Here we get the stupendous knight takes on b2 here. Okay, can't we just take back? Here, knight takes b5 was played. All right, let's take a look. Why was it wrong to take over here on b2? After king takes on b2, just simple chess here. Queen to c3 check for a nice attack against the rook, and also putting pressure on the knight. Now here the king cannot defend the rook because, well, if you go king c1, do you see it? You actually get checkmated in one move over here on a1, which leaves only one other move to play, which is king to b1, and after this you just play the simple queen takes on d2, and well, the knight's hanging, c2 is going to become weak, and if the knight moves, the open diagonal opens up too, so the game is just over here. That's why in the game, after knight takes on b2, well, knight takes on b5 was played. Now, I'm not saying this is the best move, but I do believe Judith is playing the correct way to play here, which is when you're in a bad position, try to make things complicated, right? If you go down the regular path, you're just going to be going down an easy win or easy road for them. So here, by trying to mix things up, hopefully your opponent gets bamboozled by the situation and starts to make mistakes. Unfortunately for them, French players are known to be very solid chess players. I mean, with our pawn structure, we know that we're going to be doing very well. So, hey, in this game, Black did not Black did not play badly here. Here we go, rook over to b8. A very nice move here, and king to c1 get played. Wait a second, can't we take this queen over here? You're more than welcome to, but now you're getting checkmated in 3. All right, black to move. Feel free to push pause if you want to. If not, enjoy the show. Here you go. Knight to d3 check gets played. Here the king really has no squares to move to, so you really just have to block. Knight b5, rook takes, and again you have to block. Queen b4, rook takes, and it's game over for check and mate. All right, back to the game. That's why white went ahead and played king over to c1, but the game is not over yet. Queen over to e5. As I mentioned earlier, this is a very strong diagonal here. The dark squares are just weak here, so the game ends very fast. Pawn to f4, queen c5, queen over to f3, knight c4. This knight has to be taken because, well, it's controlling the critical squares over here. When a knight's on c4, especially when a queen side attacking game, it has to be traded or else it's going to be checkmating you very soon. So bishop takes, queen takes, and yep, knight's very badly placed. Pawn on a2, b2. Oof, this rook never even got into the game. Knight to d6 for a fork. Well, not really. Here we're just going to go ahead and take on a2 here, as we are threatening rook over to b1 checkmate, or queen to b1 for checkmate. Only a few more moves here. King to d1, queen b1 check, king e2, and now for a simple win, queen takes on h1, just winning that rook. So guys, hope you did enjoy this. Remember, whenever white does play the burn variation, they're typically a very aggressive chess player and they're trying to attack you. So go ahead and play solid, go ahead and defend for a little bit, find out whenever they make that mistake, threaten to go into end games against them, and I guarantee you will do well with the French defense. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed this. We'll see you in the next video.